All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to Take a Virtual Vacation to Japan on National Take a Virtual Vacation Day. As you're coming in, please join us in the chat and tell us where you are joining us from geographically, as well as I want to know what you all think is the number one place that people said if they could only travel one more place and COVID wasn't an issue, where it would be. I really want to see that. So
Dun dun dun.
go
Having a
ahead
big
and share.
reveal.
Yeah, that's going to be it coming up. Oh, Milwaukee. There we go. Maryland, and she's guessing Hawaii. I'll never tell until I show the slide. Oh, New Zealand. Okay. Guessing Thailand. Hello from Colorado.
Hi, Susan.
Let's see. We have a lot registered tonight, so let's see how
Ooh,
close we
aloha
come to
from
our
Hawaii.
registration.
Oh,
Hawaii is the big reveal.
one thing, everyone, if you don't mind going into your to box in the chat and where it says all panelists, if you want to flip it to all panelists and attendees, that would be great so that everyone can see what people are saying.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Angela. Also, too, for those of you who have not been with us before, we do not use Zoom meeting. We use Zoom webinar, which means that only the panelists are on camera. So you can be in your jammies and just pretend this is interactive TV if you'd like. And just make sure to use that chat tonight. And like Angela said, try to have it set to all panelists and attendees so we can see and people can say, yeah, that's my same question too. But also feel free to use the Q&A box. We are going to leave questions until the end of the presentation on Japan, just so that Victoria and Melissa can really keep their flow. And then we're going to actually start off with some prizes right after that and then lead into the Q&A. So if you just joined us, we'd like to know in the chat where you're joining us from geographically, as well as your guess for what the top destination was if people could only go to one more place and COVID was not an issue. So let's see here. We'll give it just about one more minute and then we'll get started.
I think it's interesting. Melbourne's guessing the Caribbean. And I go to the Caribbean all the time, but Melbourne would be a place I would want to go.
Oh.
Australia, another good guess.
Okay.
Iceland from Colorado. Ooh.
Another Australia. Singapore.
Well, you'll soon find out. Very soon.
Happy virtual vacation day. I brought my wine this time to celebrate.
I have water. I'm boring
like I'm
today.
waiting for Warren. Warren's not going to be on this call, but I feel like I'm prepared for him to
be. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Oh, and Carol went to Bhutan. Awesome.
Okay, I think we're going to get started here. I just want to make sure that we are recording. Okay, yes, we are. Okay, very good. All right, welcome everybody to Japan, land of the rising sun. All right, hold on one second. Of course, I'm pausing here, not meaning to. There we go. Okay. Before we begin, I'm going to start out to just share with you the much anticipated survey questions. Thank you for joining us tonight and thank you for answering, those of you who gave your vote and your opinion. One more housekeeping thing of quick note. We are going to keep questions and answers till the end of the presentation by our guests tonight, and then we're going to start with prizes and then start with Q&A. So put those in the chat and make sure the chat is set to panelists and all attendees so everybody can see what questions are being asked. And I'm going to start actually with the runner, this is going to be like the Miss America pageant. We're going to start with the second runner up for the destination. And it was a 5-way tie between Hawaii, Morocco, New Zealand, Singapore, and Tahiti. Those are the second runner-ups, okay? And the first runner-ups was a 3-way tie between Greece, Australia, and India. And then we had a 2-way tie for first place. And if I could get a drum roll, the number one place that everyone wanted to travel, if they, or the majority of people wanted to travel to, if they could only travel one more place and COVID wasn't an issue, are Italy and Japan. Yay!
That's awesome.
And we did actually have this survey running at the last event for Morocco. So it's not that skewed toward Japan because tonight's Japan. That's a truly, sincerely loving on Japan. And yes. So then also I figured you all would probably want to know where everybody's going as soon as they can when they're comfortable to travel, which this one was a little bit of a surprise because it didn't exactly follow the one and only. I figured a lot of people would be ready to go right away to their number one place, but not so much. We had quite a tie for second runner up. We had Canada, Costa Rica, Germany, Iceland, Singapore, and Spain. In the first runner-up category, we had a 2-way tie between cruising, was just general cruising, and Norway, Scandinavia, Sweden. We put those all together. And then the, well, actually, I'm sorry, I did that wrong. Third runner-up, second runner-up, and first runner-up was our winner of the first one, Japan and Italy, but Japan edged out Italy by 1 vote. And then the number one place that most people are going to as soon as they're comfortable to travel is the US. And I lumped these together because it became obvious after a while that the US was kind of the thing, but there was not one particular place in the US. It is a large country, of course. So it was kind of a toss up between national parks, Hawaii, New York City, California, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Oregon. So there you have it, everybody. That is where you want to travel and where you would travel if you could only travel one place. I feel like I'm doing a news broadcast. Okay, so tonight we are Eat, Drink, Travel. For those of you who have never been with us before, for those of you who have, this can be a little bit of a refresher, but we started about a year ago with Maria and Susan, another travel advisor who's not with us tonight. And it was started as a way to keep your wanderlust satisfied during COVID when we couldn't travel. And we have evolved into 5 of us collaborating. We have a lot of fun, and we hope in the future, we all have meetup groups. We all hope in the future to be doing things live as well as virtually. We really enjoyed this format, but we want to meet you live and in person, and I'm sure you all feel the same way. This particular slide with our contact information, you're going to see a version of this throughout the presentation tonight and repeatedly in the chat. So don't worry if you want to get a hold of us, if you want to find out where you can see a broadcast or recast, or if you have a question about one of the presentations or one of the destinations you've seen tonight or in the past. These 5 gals on the slide, including myself, are the girls to go to, and they are, just a brief introduction. We have Maria Stephanopoulos. She is based in Florida, but we all, as we all do, we work all over the country. Angela Ursherwood is based in Wisconsin, and she too works all over the country. Candace Stearns is our Michigan gal. I'm your Colorado Rockies representative, and Susan Schaefer is in Tennessee. And with that, I'm going to go to a couple words of wisdom about traveling. As you may or may not know, Japan, one of the things it's known for is its Japanese proverbs. Really, a lot of Asia is known for proverbs, but I am particular to the Japanese ones because they most identify with what I think. So here you go. It says, if you try, you may succeed. If you don't try, you will not succeed. This is true for all things. Not succeeding is the result of not trying. And the reason I selected this is because it's true about travel as well. You can, if you try, you might get to go on a trip. If you plan, you will definitely get to go on a trip. If you hire a travel advisor to help you, you'll go on a fantastic trip. And if that travel advisor uses people like our guests tonight to help plan that trip, you have a whole team working on your dreams. But if you don't do any of those things, you're probably not going to go on your dream trip. Then, vision without action is a dream. Action without vision is a nightmare. Well, we don't want any nightmares. So, tonight, you have at your fingertips and at your viewing leisure, we have the vision portion, which we're about to get to in a second, courtesy of our guests tonight. And then from there, you can do the action with one of the 5 travel advisors behind Eat, Drink, and Travel. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our guests and let them take it over, but I want to give you a little bio about them. Victoria Hilly is general manager of Remote Lands in the New York City office. She was born in Lebanon, the child of American diplomats, and travel quickly became a way of life. After graduation, she moved to, okay, here we go, Kota Kinabalu. Did I say it right, Victoria?
Yeah, we call it KK for short. It's much easier.
Oh, well, why didn't you tell me that? Or were you trying to trip up the travel advisor?
Well, that's why we're here.
Okay. Well, she stayed there for over 15 years working in hospitality. And Victoria's next stop was the stunning Maldives, where she worked in sales and marketing for several luxury resorts. After living in Asia for so many years, Victoria decided it was time to move back to the United States to be closer to family. And for the past 7 years, she's been working with Remote Lands, planning amazing trips for clients. Welcome, Victoria. And Melissa Novik, Director of Business Development for Remote Lands. Melissa's passion for Asia travel began when she traveled to Japan and China for the first time as a high school student. She spent many years working in hotels prior to joining Remote Lands. And in addition to responsibilities as Director of Business Development, Melissa is also in charge of partner relationships. So, looking forward to what you have to share with us tonight. I do want to say one quick thing that this presentation tonight is the dream itinerary. They have put together, Victoria and Melissa have put together a spectacular presentation for us. And this is definitely one for anyone's bucket list. And if you like what you see, again, contact one of the travel advisors. And if you like what you see, but you'd like it tweaked, we can do that too, because everything we do and they do is totally customizable. So without further ado, take it over.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. And thank you, Heidi, for that lovely introduction. We are so excited to be with you all today and partnering with this wonderful group of travel advisors on National Virtual Vacation Day. And how appropriate is it that we are going to dream of Japan, as it is one of our favorite destinations, and you're soon going to see why. However, if Japan is not yet in your travel radar, Remote Lands can take you to 33 countries in Asia. So when you work with one of these amazing travel advisors, you together with them and us can create an amazing travel experience for you.
Perfect.
Off to Japan.
I'm so delighted to hear that Japan was the top pick for a dream travel destination. It really, truly is a dream. I've had the opportunity to go to Japan almost 30 times. So 28 times. I'm absolutely Japanese obsessed. And if I drink too much sake, I can even convince myself that I speak Japanese. That's not happening tonight. So I was really super excited when Heidi shared with me that the theme of this group, or one of the big themes, is food. I am an absolute diehard foodie. I will go anywhere in the world for food, and Japan absolutely has some of the best cuisine. So we're going to take you on a little bit of a journey tonight, and we're going to sort of throw in a couple of ideas for ways to make you super hungry when you're sitting at home wishing that you were traveling in Japan. And, you know, I could talk food forever, but I want to show you how you can balance a journey and travel to this extraordinary country. So we're going to start in Tokyo. That's where the majority of trips start. And Tokyo is quite extraordinary because it really highlights the modern world of Japan combined with the old world of Japan. And dichotomy in Japanese is so important. The old and the new, the modern, the technology, the anime, the manga, combining with tradition and heritage and culture. And it really blows up on every corner. You're going to see just this tearing between old and new wherever you go. And you really see it as you wander through various neighborhoods. And to me, to understand Japan, you need to understand the old and the new. And to do that, you need to wander through and experience these neighborhoods. So the first neighborhood that I'm picking today is Akihabara. I love this neighborhood. It is so in your face. This is where you're going to get the bright lights, big city, the neon signs, the pachinko parlors and the video games, the gakapachan slot machines, everything going on here. And, you know, just such a fun place to sort of take on all of that noise that is Tokyo. And then from there, we might wander over to another neighborhood that I think is extra special. This is Harajuku. I know you've all heard about Harajuku from the Gwen Stefani song that was all about the Harajuku girls. And when you're here, you can dress up like little schoolgirls or schoolboys. So this is a dual sex thing that can be done. Teenagers love to do it. Sometimes mom and daughters love to do this. And again, we try to get the dads involved. This is a neighborhood that all the Japanese teens go and hang out in. So it's best to go in the afternoon after school is out or on the weekend. And this is where you're going to find great streetwear and fashion, cool stores, animal cafes like hedgehog cafes and bunny cafes and cat cafes, and also some really crazy food. One of these pictures is showing you sort of these, the pink floss candy that you can get. You can also go to ice cream parlors where they make ice cream cones in the shape of animals. There are huge cheese sticks that are, you know, this high, and weird drinks. So this is where you're going to find really great Instagrammable food and lots of fun snacks if you're willing to wait in line for them, because they're super, super popular. People come just for the photos here. And if you're tired of this neighborhood and it's got you, you know, just sort of stressed out from all of the busy and crazy teenagers, you can then pop over to Old World Tokyo and visit Asakusa, which is more toned down, Old World Japan, old wooden buildings, famous temples like this one, Sensuji, where maybe you can do a prayer or an offering to the temple and really take on the beauty of this old world community. And again, you're going to be jumping between these very, very modern communities and these old world communities, which I think is such a special way to get overload of Japan all in one day. From here, we're going to take a peek at some of the parks. And one of the most popular times to visit Japan is the springtime, but really Japan can be visited 365 days a year. So we see a lot of people wanting to go in the winter. Autumn here is amazing. Spring is extraordinary. They pretty much follow the same temperatures as, I would say, New York City. So anytime that the New York weather is, you know, springtime or cherry blossoms are blooming, it's probably going to be blooming in Japan as well. Right now in Washington, D.C., all of the Washington, D.C. cherry blossoms are blooming. If we went to Japan, all the blossoms are blooming as well. One of the cool things about going to cherry blossoms is that it's such a tradition in Japan to view cherry blossoms. The term in Japanese is called haname, and it means to witness this beauty. And there's a concept in Japanese called manu no oware, which means to respect and honor the ephemeralness of beauty, the idea that something that is here today will be gone tomorrow. And it's such an important concept to the Japanese, and they have really highlighted it in their passion for cherry blossoms. If you know cherry blossom flowers, they bloom and they're with us for such a short period of time until they wilt and fall to the ground. You know, you might have a 10-day period for a tree to go from bud to wilting. So it's quite extraordinary. And so they as a people go to the parks and to these places to do their haname, their viewing of the cherry blossoms, and they'll gather with their friends. So you see people putting blankets down. Sometimes offices will have happy hours, and they'll send like the lowest person on the totem pole of the office. Maybe the mail boy will be sent to lay down blankets and then protect that space for 12 hours until everyone else shows up. And it's such a thing. So when people say, you know, I want to see these cherry blossoms, they have to understand that there will be hundreds and hundreds of Japanese also doing haname at the same time. And it's just important to know you'll never really get a tree by yourself. You'll always be sharing it with other people, trying to accept this ephemeral beauty. Because we wanted to talk a little bit about food, I wanted to also highlight the Toyosu Fish Market. I don't have any good news for anyone here. And that's why I chose to just sort of show you this new fish market. Japan is very proud that it has opened a new fish market. It was about a year and a half ago. And before, Japan had this amazingly famous fish market that was called Tsukiji. And you used to go and it was dirty and grungy and crazy and busy and so extraordinary. But now they have converted it into the most modern, clean, and efficient fish market you could ever imagine. And on top of it, they decided to not allow any tourists to go inside. So people who have in their mind that they want to go to the fish market for a fish auction, because watching the tuna being cut up and auctioned is insane. Tuna are huge. Tuna is like the size of a very large man. It's just massive. And it's so important to their culture. And so over time, people wanted to watch the auction sale or watch the sales on the floors. But today, you can't have access to the auction. You cannot go down onto the floors of the market. You can't even see them. And all you can do if you go here is to see prefabricated stalls selling things to tourists with no attachment to the fish market. So my call is, if fish market is in your heart, it isn't going to be here. And the Japanese have taken the fun out of the fish market. So I'm sorry for the bad news, but there is plenty of fish to be eaten in Tokyo. So that isn't to take away your sushi dreams. Sushi is honored at the highest level in Japan. And one of the favorite things that we love to do with clients is to actually offer different types of sushi making classes. And this can be at all levels. We have family levels, but we also have sushi making classes that would be done with a Michelin star chef at the highest level. So depending on what you're looking for with your Japanese experience, there is a sushi making class for you. If you're traveling with kids, one of my favorite experiences is called Kyoto sushi. So cute sushi, and who wouldn't want to be making Hello Kitty sushis or making their sushi look like Pac-Man and Pokemon? So super fun kids activity. We also see families asking for this with their teenagers. Again, Instagrammable heaven. And a lot of times we're designing trips just based on people's Instagram desires. So something to keep in mind, either a traditional sushi class or Kyoto sushi. From here, we're going to move on to Ginza. Ginza is like Fifth Avenue, high street, amazing shopping. What I love here, again, for foodies, is these amazing Japanese department stores. And downstairs in the Japanese department store basement, you have what I think is like Harrods on steroids. I mean, it is the best food halls you can ever imagine. And again, very, very Instagrammable. Just the Japanese have a way of making things look absolutely beautiful and presenting things in packaging that is just mind-blowing. Like, I think they have packaging for their packaging for their packaging. So it's just such an art form to be able to go down and understand a little bit of that culture and see just how amazing they are with their pastries, with their breads, with their food design. It's extraordinary. Another fun stop in Ginza is the Kit Kat shop. And you might go, what am I doing in a Kit Kat shop? But it is just amazing. The Japanese have taken the Kit Kat to the highest level possible. So no one in Japan would eat a Kit Kat like we know. Instead, all of the Kit Kats are flavored, and they actually theme their flavors. So during cherry blossom season, you can eat cherry blossom flavored Kit Kats. Maybe you can have sake flavored Kit Kats or beer flavored Kit Kats. You can have popcorn flavored Kit Kats, or you could have anything, green tea flavor. There's just so many. And for a really fun experience, again, for family focus, but again, for adults, there are special classes we can set up to create your own Kit Kat flavor in the Kit Kat Gourmet Kitchen. And so it's a really fun experience that you can have. And then you can make Kit Kats to bring home to your friends in all sorts of weird and wonderful flavors. So just some food for thought. From here, we're going to head on down to Kyoto. I mean, Japan is massive. We could go to 100 places, but because we have only a limited amount of time, we want to narrow this down and give you some of those highlights. So Kyoto is always a must-do on any itinerary. This is really where you're going to see a lot of that tradition, and it falls short of that modernity that you're going to find in Kyoto or even Osaka that we'll talk about shortly. So this is where you're going to get your temple on. There's lots and lots of temples. So again, we want to be really careful to find a balance so that we don't over temple people. The nice thing for foodies is that you can balance it with food. And that's the best way to go. So let's take a look at some of those places that we can visit during the springtime or any time of the year. Walking down Philosopher's Walk is really wonderful. This is a beautiful neighborhood that's surrounded by temples on either side and a lot of religious schools. So this is where, and again, it's called the Philosopher's Walk because some of the scholarly monks would walk down this pathway and they would ponder Mana no Aware, the ephemeralness of beauty. And they would do that as they walked through the trees. So it's a really wonderful walk. And on either side, you can see some of the main temples like the Silver Pavilion, which is so important. Now, secondary to the Silver Pavilion, and probably the most important place that you can visit from a temple perspective in Kyoto is the Golden Pavilion, which is absolutely stunning. It is set in one of the most special gardens, and you can see that these gardens are really focused on the trees, very, very much in a bonsai fashion, and moss. And again, the whole process in the Buddhist faith to take care of plants, to shape them into a perceived form of beauty is all about dedication and is all about bringing the passion and the love that you have to create and force beauty. So it's quite an amazing philosophy in Japan. And so to walk around this temple is quite special. This originally was a samurai home. It's only a 2-room house, and now it is considered a religious shrine. So it's quite unique that way. Another one that you can go and visit is Kiyomizu-dera. This is a wonderful temple up on top of the hill in Heian Mountain overlooking Kyoto. A beautiful place that you can go, and if you have a desire for taking on good luck, there is a practice here at a waterfall to cleanse yourself with various ladles of water. And it's a beautiful way to understand a little bit more about the faith here. And then leading up to Kiyomizu-dera, there is a row of shops that probably is about 3/4 of a mile long. And this is where you're going to be able to try different types of food or buy gifts. Maybe one of my favorite things is the black ice cream that is made out of sesame seeds. Really, really good. And some other foods around that area. just outside of the main center of Kyoto is an area called Arashiyama. Very, very famous, again, for Instagram lovers of things like the bamboo forest. And this is a beautiful area that you can walk through that's all lush with bamboo flowers. Nearby, you have a monkey park. And of course, you have lots of temples that you can visit. One of our favorite stops is the Nishiki Market. I always like to include this, particularly now that we're not really able to get clients into the fish market in Tokyo. So I think it is important to see an active and living market while you're in Japan. And this is a particularly nice one in Kyoto. It's not as fish heavy. One of the things that's important to note from a food perspective is that Kyoto, because it is not directly on the water, is not renowned for its seafood. So this is not a place that you would plan to eat too much sushi. You eat your sushi in Tokyo, you might eat your sushi in Osaka, or even in Kanazawa, one of our favorite places that we're not going to visit today. But when you're in Kyoto, you're going to actually have other types of food, which we'll touch on briefly. But you won't see too much fish action here at this market, but you will see a lot of other Japanese food. So it's worthwhile visiting. I wanted to highlight a few of the other foods that you might be trying while you're in Kyoto. Mochi are one of the favorite Japanese desserts, and we can actually set up a private class to make these, but it's made with a flan wrap that has the matcha green tea. Japanese love to infuse green tea in so many of their foods. And then inside, you're seeing a red bean paste that's quite sweet. And this is one of the favorite desserts for the Japanese. On the next slide, we're going to take a quick look at one of the main meals that you're going to have when you are traveling in Kyoto. And this is something I really caution people about. So this is called a kaiseki meal. Kaiseki means the chef's choice. So anything the chef wants to eat. And something that's really important to realize about Japanese food is pretty much anything that you're going to have anywhere in the country is what the chef wants to give you. You're not going to have a lot of say in it. So Japan is not the kind of place that you want to go if you're gluten-free or watching carbs or cutting down sodium or have any other rules or allergies or veganism or anything else going on, because every restaurant basically follows this rule that the chef can make whatever he wants, how he wants. He doesn't want to hear you saying it can't be raw or it can't be rare or it has to be cooked well done. It's how he wants it. And you need to just sort of give yourself over to this food tradition. Now, a kaiseki meal, particularly in Kyoto, this is a very big theme, but you'll also see this in a lot of Japanese inns, ryokans, the traditional hotels. So the meal is prepared. It typically has about 20 to 25 courses. You have no choices. The food just keeps coming and they keep piling it around you until at some point you have like 15 dishes in front of you. You don't need to eat everything. The Japanese do like a level of politeness. So you'd like to sort of look like you might be making a move to eat it all, but you don't need to. And if there's something that you can't eat, just don't touch it. But don't make a big deal about it because nobody wants to hear it there. Like they take it to heart, and it's a really sensitive situation. So we say, for the most part, for clients taking kaiseki, just don't plan to have too many of these meals back to back because it can become a lot if you're staying in Japan for many days. Now, I also needed to highlight my very, very favorite thing ever that I had in Kyoto. So this is known as a katsu sando. Katsu is a bread, so the breadcrumbs, sort of like a cutlet. And this is Kobe beef. This sandwich, so it's just a sandwich, cost me $129. And it was the best sandwich I have ever put in my mouth ever, hands down, and I would pay double anytime that I would be given an option to have this again. So keep this in mind if you are A, interested in Japanese beef, B, really love to do something outrageous like spend $130 on a sandwich, and see, because I'm telling you, it's the best thing you'll ever put in your mouth. You'll see these sometimes in Tokyo, but really the home of the sandwich is a restaurant called Honton Honto in Kyoto, and there's a couple others that try to copy it. Moving on from the beef heavenly sandwich, we'll go into the traditional tea ceremony. Tea ceremonies are such a wonderful way to understand Japanese culture and can be done at all different types of levels. So you can do it like this with a Mako, a geisha in training, or you could do it with a monk. A lot of times we'll set this up in a temple, and sometimes we'll just do it in a tea house with a tea master. And this is a whole tradition about the host filling cups, providing you with a drink, the speed that you drink it, and this communication that goes between the tea master and the tea drinker as a understanding of Japanese deep culture. So it's absolutely beautiful and wonderful to be able to experience something like that. So after a wonderful time in Kyoto, we're going to wing our way 45 minutes south to Osaka, which I always say is my very, very favorite city in all of Japan. It's not on everyone's to-do list, but if you are truly a foodie, Osaka is known as the kitchen of Japan, and no one has done Japan properly unless they have eaten their way through this amazing city. So I had to highlight it. Other things that you can do in Osaka, the Osaka Castle is very, very famous. It's also spectacular for cherry blossoms. And a lot of times we'll say, you know, Kyoto and Osaka are so close by. And so sometimes if people are terribly foodie, I would say stay in Osaka, do a day trip to Kyoto rather than staying in Kyoto. Osaka is more of a modern city. It has an amazing vibe to it. I love the pace of the city. It's not quite as fast as Tokyo, and it's much slower because I think everyone's stopping to eat, which is great. Other things that we can do in Osaka, Downtonbury, this is one of my favorite places to go. So this is, again, bright lights, big city at its best. Japan is famous for its neon. And this whole area has some of the most iconic neon signs in the world. And it just lights up at night. There are streets after streets. And in this area, I would guess there are at least 3,000 restaurants. One of my favorite things to do here is to eat, obviously. And I just sort of eat one dish in one restaurant, move to the next one, eat another dish, and just sort of eat my way through the various foods that are available here. It is extraordinary. And I just love it. I love the life here and the vibe. And I really recommend it to people, particularly if they are foodies and looking for that. So I wanted to show you a couple of my favorite things from Osaka. In the top corner, the balls are called takayama, and they are fried octopus balls. We can do a class to make these. You can eat these as street food. They're absolutely wonderful. Underneath it is an okonomiyaki, which is a Japanese savory pancake. My favorite thing in the world. And it's so fun because you actually get to make it yourself. They sort of have a grill in front of you. They pour the batter. They put in the bonito tuna flakes. It's just amazing. It's so good. I used to go, there was a bar in Osaka. I used to walk into the bar and I would call the crowd and say, where's the best okonomiyaki? And they would all write down their favorite restaurant, and we just go from restaurant to restaurant testing out the various Japanese pancakes. So yes, I'm obsessed with Japanese pancakes. And the fish that you see on the side is a really interesting one. So it's fugu. If anyone's ever heard of fugu, fugu is the fish that can kill you. They always say that the chef who prepares fugu has to be an absolute master in cutting fish, because if he cuts it in any way wrong, some of the poison will seep through onto the fish and you might die. So this is one of those foods that you sort of say, am I rolling the dice today or not? Your call. But it is something that's available during season in Osaka, and definitely something I would say, why not try that? I have, and I'm still here. So I've lived to tell the story. So like I said, you can make these octopus balls in a class. And then the next slide is going to show you a really fun place to go, the Ramen Museum. So the Japanese have taken cup of noodles to the highest level possible, and they really, really understand their noodles. And so to be able to go here to see the history and story of cup of noodles in all their shapes and forms, and hopefully eat a few, it's fantastic. So had to add that in as an option. And I think that we've wrapped up a quick 2 weeks in Japan, eating our way through.
That's spectacular. I'm just blown away. I also am blown away, and yes, I'm going to be a little off color here. I didn't know octopuses had balls. Okay, that one will hit you on the way home, everybody. Okay, thank you so much. I mean, you're speedy. You got us through 2 weeks in Japan in about 20 minutes. Holy cow, that's great. I know we're going to have some questions, but I want to go to a little bit of a pause here and do some prizes, because I know some of the people came for the prizes tonight, and I want to reward that. So let me go here just to, okay. Just takes a second for it to pop in there. Okay, I think it's popping in there. Here we go. Maybe not. All right, there we go. We have a prize wheel. You're going to see that in a second. The rules, as everyone was told before tonight, is that you must be present when your name is announced. Names were pre-registered or on the wheel, one per registrant. And then to make it more interesting, those of you that answered the question about where you would travel, we put those in the wheel as well. And so here's how it goes. If your name comes up on the wheel, you win a $5 e-gift card to the coffee shop of your choice between Starbucks, Caribou Coffee, or Dunkin' Donuts, which you can also get tea at those places. And if a country comes up, everyone who named that country in their survey is going to get a 1-year subscription to Virtuoso Life and the annual book, Virtuoso's Best of the Best, which has the world's top hotel experiences. And I know many, many people who would pay a lot of money for both of those. And so let's hope a bunch of the countries come up and we will go from there. I'm just going to change to the wheel here so you can watch the little wheel of spinning. This is one of my most favorite parts of everything. Okay, so we're going to do 3 of these, and Maria, could you keep an eye out in the attendees? So if a name comes up, you can let me know right away if they are present when it comes up, so we don't have to wait. Okay.
Absolutely. Thanks. And they can also put their name, they can, let,
oh, yeah,
let
you
us
can
know they're
say
here
in the chat. I'm here. Yeah. That would be great.
I'll look too, though.
Oh, we have a name. Bahar Hess. Is Bahar coming up in the chat?
Bahar Hess is here. I see them online.
Okay. All right. Well,
congratulations, Bahar.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, and then we'll do another one. Isn't this fun? It's like we're in Vegas at the roulette wheel, right? And it looks like Diana Kidd.
And Diana's here. I saw her name pop in.
Okay.
Congratulations,
if you all want,
Diana.
if you winners want to put in the chat which your coffee shop of choice is, we will email you with the email you registered with. And then one more before we go to Q&A. Oh, I thought for sure we were going to get a country. Charisse Gentile. Is she here?
She's on here. We just need to see her. Yep, she's here. And let us know again which coffee shop you'd like the gift card to.
Okay.
Hey.
And with that, we're going to go to Q&A. Hold on 1 second there. Oh, for goodness sakes. All of a sudden, my mouse is acting up. Thankfully, I have a touch screen. All right, so we did have some questions in the chat, and now I'm at full screen, so I can't quite see them. Oh, here we go. I flags. One of
Okay,
you
Mark
guys want to
asked
help
a
me out with the
Can you
question.
chat?
see
I
'em?
can't
Yeah.
access it.
Mark had asked a
Can you see 'em?
question about, do they respect food allergies?
Oh, not always. So we always say when people have food allergies that we need to communicate that well in advance. We always provide a card that's translated into Japanese to express what that food allergy is. And then depending on what that allergy is, we would work with you to make sure that we're choosing restaurants that will be flexible, because not all will. And so we want to make sure that we're guiding you to the right places and the places that are kind enough to understand that. I'm not trying to paint a bad picture of the Japanese, but they really like to perfect their food exactly how they like it, and they're not very flexible.
Understandable.
There's another question that came in about, is it better to stay at a chain hotel or a ryokan?
So I love when people stay at a ryokan, but the thing to note about Japanese inns, so either a ryokan can be in a city or it can be in the countryside, perhaps with a hot spring bath where you can take what's called an onsen or your hot spring bath. But there's a lot of rules that come with a ryokan. A lot of times you can't wear shoes inside, or you have to wear a Japanese yukata, similar to what Heidi is wearing today. Or you have to only eat your meals in the ryokan and only eat that kaiseki meal that the chef prepares. Or they only serve Japanese breakfast. If you're ready for fish in the morning, great. And so for me, I always say one night in a ryokan is a great Japanese introduction and experience. But unless you are really ready to dip well into the tradition every single day, I would say stay in a luxury hotel, a 4-star or 5-star property, whether it's a chain or not a chain, and maybe just choose 1 or 2 nights in special locations for that Japanese introduction to a ryokan. I think you can overdo it, but it's definitely a must do most of the time for at least one night.
Okay, there's another question here. What type of transportation transfers do you recommend between the cities?
Sure. So typically, if at all possible, we would opt for the Shinkansen or the high-speed train, particularly if we're going from Tokyo to Kyoto and you want to do that quickly. And so we use the train for almost all destinations throughout Japan. So if we're going to Kanazawa or across, we're going to be using the train. However, if we're just driving between Kyoto and Osaka and it's a 45-minute drive, we'll probably just drive and not necessarily need to go all the way to the station to wait for the train. Trains are very, very efficient in Japan, so we just love to use them whenever we can.
And those are the only questions I'm seeing. Anybody else with questions?
I have a question, Victoria. How easy is it to get around with the language? Is there a big language barrier? Do a lot of people speak English?
So I think a lot of people do speak English, but won't. The thing about the Japanese culture is they're so terribly shy and or respectful or embarrassed that they might make a mistake. So they would rather err on telling you they don't speak a word of English than actually trying. And so in my opinion, there's a pretty big language barrier. And so we always recommend guides for the most part. Signage is all in Japanese. There's very little in English, and it's very, very challenging to find, you know, particularly when you're trying to find directions, et cetera, anybody who can translate for you. So it definitely is one of the places remaining on the planet where language is certainly a barrier.
So that kind of leads me to a second question. So is there anything travelers can do that are like huge faux pas or like things you need to be aware of because of the traditions and the culture?
Absolutely. So many. You can imagine how traditional the Japanese are. So simple things like don't tip anybody. Japanese believe that tips are an insult. So a taxi driver or even the bellman or, you know, no tipping. But if you want to tip a guide, so I always say there's a difference, like there's a guide and you might want to tip your guide. That's a really kind thing to do. But if you're going to do it, you must put the tip inside an envelope. At no point can you ever hand money to anybody unless it's the cash register. Like, so if you're going to tip, it needs to be folded. If you don't have an envelope, make an envelope out of a piece of paper and practice your inner origami to make it look nice. The Japanese are really funny that way. The Japanese don't shake hands, which is one of the reasons why they don't have as big of a COVID problem as we have, because they bow to each other and they bow at a distance. They don't ever touch each other. So don't try to touch anybody there. Handshaking, again, you really need to think it out, because you want to sort of, if they're going to shake hands, they should extend first. Otherwise, be ready for that little bow. The more important the person is, the lower your bow should be. So if you're meeting someone who's younger than you, you can do a short bow. If you're meeting someone who's much older than you or perceived as important, you need to bow really low. So those are some of the things.
Awesome.
Talked about one more, like we talked about the onsen, the hot spring bath. And there's two things I always say to people. If you're going to take a public bath, you need to be ready to get naked with other people. There is no bathing suit wearing in an onsen bath. Now, obviously they're separated from men to women, but if you go into a bath, you aren't allowed to go in with anything of clothing on. So you've got to be really comfortable with your body. And the other thing is, if you have any tattoos, you are 100% not welcome in a bath. So
Wow.
if you have tattoos, you can't even cover them. If they perceive that you have a tattoo and you tried to cover it with a Band-Aid, you're going to cause problems. So
Wow.
it's very, very traditional, very, very reserved people.
Awesome. Thank you. That was great.
Victoria, would you share the story you shared with me about this picture on the screen right now with the men in the caps?
Absolutely. I was so happy to see you pull this up. It's such a unique place in Japan. So this is the Daisho-in Temple, which is on an island called Miyajima, which is off the coast of Hiroshima. And it's the only place that I'm aware of in Japan where they dress up the statues. There's, I believe, 380 of these unique statues. Every single statue has its own face and expression. And the women of both the Miyajima community and also the Hiroshima community. Now, don't forget that Hiroshima is where we unfortunately had the first nuclear bomb explode in Hiroshima. And so there's a lot of praying going on in this area. And so the women gather together and decide on a quarterly basis what to dress the statues in. And they crochet and knit all of the beanie caps for the 300 over statues and come every season to dress them up. And it's a really special, special place.
Wow.
We did have thank you for sharing.
Also, too,
Go ahead, Heidi.
Also, too, Victoria, you and Melissa have spoken about some of your travel packages that are the custom travel that involve private transportation, even a small portion of a larger private jet. Do you want to talk to that at all or speak about that?
Melissa, do you want to go ahead?
Sure, I'm happy to. So our company works in conjunction with Aman Resorts to put together these amazing private jet journeys. And our jet journeys that we do feature anywhere from 8 to 9 couples that will travel with us on an Airbus A319. So when you're all thinking about an Airbus A319, it's usually configured with 130 seats. This jet is configured with only 19 seats. So you have this amazing opportunity for incredible social distancing. But then when you arrive, typically on a group trip, you would be in a van with 100 people. You have your own private car, guide and driver, and your itinerary is set based on what you are looking to do. So any of the travel advisors that are here with you today can work with us to put together these amazing experiences for you. These trips range anywhere from, our shortest trips are 8 nights, so touching down in 4 countries, to 21 nights where we touch down in 9 countries. And we would be more than happy to work with you on any of these experiences in conjunction with Heidi, Angela, Candice, Susan, and Maria.
Thank you, Melissa. Marie, do we have any other questions that have come in?
Yeah, we
or
do have
does
a
that prompt
few.
anything? Okay,
So,
excellent.
There's a question from Marge about, besides $130 sandwich, what's the average cost of a meal?
Fantastic, Marge. And trust me, that sandwich is really worth it. Food can go anywhere in Japan. So you can have a basic meal that costs, the same, a $6 sandwich, or, something that you would get at a basic store here in America. Or if you go to some of these Michelin restaurants, you could be prepared to pay up to $500 to $600 per person for the meal. So again, it's really important, if people are looking to make dinner reservations, that we have a good idea of what kind of budget people want. Because again, these are all fixed prices and they need to be paid and guaranteed in advance. So any of these fine dining restaurants, you're going to be looking at $200 to $600 ahead. But you can easily enjoy amazing food for a fraction of that if you eat just like a normal person. Trust me, I'm just a normal person. So it doesn't have to break the bank every time. And it doesn't have to be the most expensive sandwich in the world. But again, really good.
So one of the follow-up questions to that is, there are a lot of street food available.
Street food is in some cities. So Osaka is a great city for street food, whereas other places may not have a tradition of street food. Or in Tokyo, there may be like one or two neighborhoods that have it, like Harajuku, or my favorite neighborhood is Yanaka, that has great street food, but everywhere else doesn't. The Japanese are really funny about street food. Some don't find it hygienic, even though you can imagine how meticulous the Japanese are with their hygiene. So that's never a question. But the Japanese themselves have created the highest levels of hygiene in their heads. And so some of them may look down at street food as a practice. And that's why only some cities may have a stronger street food scene than others. But I wouldn't say that Japan is the best place to go for street food in general. They're a little bit shy of it.
Right. When you were talking about the possible faux pas we could make going over there, one of the questions came in about business cards.
Oh, yes. Meiji desu. So a business card is really important. And I wish I had a business card in front of me because I could show you. But if you're going, so they love to pass business cards. So definitely whoever is traveling should bring business cards. And when you're meeting someone, you're going to present your business card if it seems normal. Like if you're just meeting someone on the street, you don't have to give one. But if you're meeting someone and you want to keep in touch, so let's say this was my business card, I put it sideways, so on the horizontal, and I put my hands on either corner. And again, I bow down and I present it to the person. And then they will bow down and take my card, and then they will stare at it. And usually they will go, And then once you've done that pass, then they will pass you theirs. And so once they put it out, you're going to take the two corners, you're going to look at it, and maybe you're going to go, which means that you're appreciating their title and you're giving reverence to who they are. And so that kind of sound is really important. You make the same sound, by the way, when you're eating soba noodles. And if you go into a soba restaurant and you eat, they want you to slurp, make lots of noise, and go, all the time, because that's the only way that you're going to express to the chef how much you appreciate the food. So it's kind of fun.
It is taboo to write on the back of a business card, correct?
Yes, very much so.
Okay. Just want to make sure that I got that correct.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another question came in about, how much should you expect the budget for a 2-week trip?
It really depends on what kind of trip that you're planning on having. We usually say that a trip for two would be between $2,000 and $4,000 a day. So you can multiply that out and see that cost. And then if there's a lot of special experiences, that can explode and balloon. A car, to have a car in Tokyo, for example, is just over $1,000 per day. So unless you're going to go subway, you can obviously take the car away. But the car is so convenient to have versus subway, because there's a lot of transfers and a lot of work goes into the subway. So maybe do the subway for one day, but You just need to know that there's costs involved for each of these things, and it really increases an overall expense. Hotels as well, like depending on what time of year that you're going, hotels in Kyoto, for example, during peak season could be running at $2,000, $3,000 a day. And there's, very little fluctuation during these seasons on that. So it's definitely going to be a bucket list trip. No one gets to go away cheaply. Hence, you can have these $100 sandwiches. It all makes sense.
Wonderful. Thank you. Let's see. Do we have any other questions coming in? I am not seeing any, but any others. Ladies, did you see any that I may have missed?
I think we're good. Again, thank you, ladies. And we still have a few more things to share, some gifts and prizes and whatnot. So if you come up with any more questions while we're doing that, please put it in the chat and we'll try to get to them. All right. They say, who travels for love finds 1,000 miles, not longer than one. And I hope all your travels, we hope all your travels are always for love, be it love of the place or love of people. And we get this question every time. How do we watch a replay? How do we get a recording? How do we watch? I missed the one 2 weeks ago. Well, here's a lot of places where you can watch them. We have our private Facebook groups for Take a Virtual Vacation and Eat, Drink, Travel. We also have, all of us have either a YouTube channel or on our website or both. And then to keep up on future events, I've mentioned earlier, we each have our own meetup group. This is a great place to keep abreast of what's going on because we always schedule our events in meetup and we usually schedule them first. So this is the best way to keep an idea of what's coming up. And then I'm going to leave you with this comment, and then we're going to go to the big winner of our photo contest, as well as a couple more prizes. Personal philosophy of mine, and I believe that my associates share it with me, is what Dale Carnegie once said: live life by a compass, not a clock. We hope you always pick where you want to go and what you want to do first and foremost and make it a priority. And from there, fill the clock around your compass instead of the other way around. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I was going to reveal the person. Well, hopefully nobody saw that. I'm going to switch now to the prize wheel again and give away a couple more of those. And then we're going to reveal our big winner. Okay, so here we go. Once again, let's see if we can get a country and get a bunch of people with the virtuoso. And Anthony LaPena. Is Anthony still with us?
Anthony is not with us.
Okay, well then we'll go again. Oh, I thought we were going to get India. Deb W. Is there a Deb W in the house?
Deb W is in the house. Congratulations. Let us
All
know
right.
which coffee card you would like.
We just can't seem to get a country. On Moreau?
No, unfortunately,
Moreau.
Ann is not with us tonight.
Okay. Come on, country, country, country. Noriko Tyson. Noriko?
No, Noriko's not on with us.
Oh my
tonight.
goodness. Okay, we'll go one more. Rhonda Smith.
Rhonda's not with us tonight either.
All right. Well, I guess we are going with that. I'm going to go back and announce our big winner. If I can maneuver this. Okay. Again, we had a contest. It was a photo contest. And I don't know if y'all are chicken, but not many of you went for it. But we have a winner tonight. And what this winner gets, I feel like I should say, Vanna, tell us what the winner gets. The winner gets something called a Gold Belly gift certificate. And for those of you that don't know what Gold Belly is, it is a online food service that basically opens up any restaurant in the United States that you can think of and delivers it to your house. So if you live like I do in Colorado and you love Cajun food and you have your favorite Cajun restaurant in New Orleans, you can have it delivered to your house. It's really awesome. I got turned on to this by one of my suppliers and now I'm like hooked. So we have a winner and she gets a $50 Gold Belly gift certificate. And okay, I'm trying to get to my spot here, and it is Charisse Gentile, and she already won something tonight too, so she's a really big winner tonight. I know she's in the house,
Congratulations.
so congratulations, Charisse. We're excited, and we've got your email address. So, and I think I saw that you were here from Colorado, so you're even in my neck of the woods. I don't know if you came through one of my sites, but welcome and congratulations. And with that, I think we're close to the end here again. More information. Here's how to get a hold of us. And then up next, we have the Road to Ranches on April 13th. Angela, you just want to say anything about that or just leave it as it is or?
Sure, yeah, I'll just quick touch on it. So yeah, on the 13th of April, we are going to do a deep dive into the United States Dude Ranch kind of network and type of travel style. So a lot of people are choosing to stay closer to home based on either borders being closed or just comfort level wanting to stay in the United States. And Dude Ranches are an amazing travel experience in the summer. So this will show us everything from the ultra luxury to more affordable, and from the really, horse-driven ones to ones that offer all sorts of different activities and fun things. So tune into that to discover Dude Ranches.
Awesome. And then on April 27th, we're having Croatia, culinary and culture along the Adriatic. And this is a personal favorite of mine. I am so thrilled that we are doing Croatia. It's become a really hot spot, and it's one of the few places that is pretty open. And they were closed for a little while, but they reopened again. And last summer, they had a great tourist season. And so I'm looking forward to that. And then, of course, we all have Instagram as well. Make sure you follow us on there. Hashtag, tag us, hashtag, whatever. And once again, thank you so much for being with us tonight. And thank you to our guests, Melissa and Victoria. We really appreciate it. And have a lovely night.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Thanks for joining us.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks.